Good afternoon, Chair and Board members. My name is Joseph and I'm the Lead Consultant at Infinite Solutions. Over the last few years, our team has guided several companies through the very complex IPO process, and we're looking forward to taking the next very important steps with you. I'm joined today by our senior consultants, Ian and Lei, and together we'll present Novatrend's Sustainability Risk Assessment, which is fully aligned with the ISO 31000 to support the company's IPO strategy. Now I'll hand it over to Lei for more details on the process.
Good morning, board members. I'm Lei from Infinite Solution, your strategic risk partner on this engagement. Before we identify risks, ISO 31000 asked us to first establish the context. So we asked, what kind of environment is Novatrend really operating in? Externally, our PESEL scan revealed tightening ESG regulation, fragile global logistics, and rising demand for ethical transparency, especially from Gen Z. Internally, the SWOT shows innovation strength but also structural stress. Over 80% of production is concentrated in high-risk zones, ESG branding is underdeveloped, and IPO pressures are starting to strain culture. So here's the big picture. Novatrend's ambition is accelerating, but its governance structure is lagging behind. And ISO reminds us our goal isn't perfect control. It's strategic adaptability. Let's move into step 2, risk identification. ISO defines risk as the effect of uncertainty on objectives. So here's a question we ask. What specific risk events could derail Novatrend's ability to grow, to scale, to IPO, and to lead ethically in its category? We didn't guess. We ran a structured process combining stakeholder interviews, audit data, and signals from our PESEL and SWOT diagnostics. From that, 4 material risks stood out. First, supplier over concentration. Right now, the production footprint is heavily exposed to ESG, vulnerable zones. That's not just a sourcing issue, it's a reputational liability. Second, reputational drift. In a category where ESG leadership is becoming the brand, Novatrend is in danger of falling behind the curve. Third, IPO short-termism. When valuation pressure starts distorting culture, it's no longer a financial issue, it's a strategic one. Fourth, regulatory blind spot. There's a compliance gap emerging between where Novatrend is now and where ESG legislation is heading. Now, each of these isn't just a bullet point. Each one has a root cause, a defined impact domain, and an accountable owner within the business. That's what ISO 31000 demands from step 2's strategic risk identification. Alright, so we've named the risks. But how do we organize them into something decision makers can use? That's where the register comes in. We compiled our findings into Novatrend's first ISO-aligned strategic risk register. This isn't just any document. It's our roadmap, tailored precisely to ISO standards. Each risk, categorized across ISO's domains, strategic, financial, operational, reputational. We've got a clear system here. And it's all set for 5x5 matrix evaluation, our tool to really dig into these risks. Now, what sets this apart? These aren't abstract ideas floating in the air. They're prioritized, weighted, and directly linked to Novatrend's KPIs and ESG metrics. It's about practical, real, world implications. So, this isn't some ordinary table. It's the bedrock of your governance, the starting point for all your strategic moves. We've built the structure, and now it's time to assess the exposure. Simple as that. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce my colleague Ian. He's a veteran in our consulting team. Ian will guide you through the analysis phase. He'll make it crystal clear. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Ian, Senior Consultant from Infinite Solution. We specialize in helping businesses like Novatrend to navigate strategic risk, and today I have the opportunity to walk you through some key findings from our latest risk analysis. We looked at risk across 4 main areas and rated each based on how likely it is to happen and how big of an impact it would be if it did. And the tables on the screen here gives us a clear picture of which risks are manageable and which ones could be game changers. For example, anything in the red or black zones, as you can see, like major or catastrophic risks, that are also likely or almost certain are the ones that really need attention now. Now let's focus on the top 4 risks that we believe the board needs to address right away. So for the first one, we have vision and mission misalignment. So based on our analysis, we have found that right now there's a gap between the company's stated mission and its aggressive growth strategy. And that could lead to confusion internally and could also cause stakeholders to lose confidence and investment. Second, the IPO and investor pressure. So the drive to deliver quick returns is putting sustainability at risk, and we think that without a balanced approach, long-term profitability could become is the supply chain sustainability. So Novatrend is heavily relying on suppliers in Southeast Asia, and that creates real vulnerability. Whether it's due to disruptions or ethical concerns, that's a risk that you should need to look at based on the risk tolerance and appetite analysis that we've done. And finally, the labor and ethical sourcing. So there are some weak spots in the enforcement of labor policies across the supply chain, and we believe that opens the doors to compliance risk and reputational damage. And all four of these risks are either high or extremes, and they're not theoretical, which means they're already affecting how the business operates today. So you might wonder, how do these risks stack up against the company's tolerance level? So for the first risk and the second risk, these are not acceptable risks. They're in the extreme category, so they need urgent escalation and action. For example, like realigning the company's strategic vision and rethinking the pace and priorities of growth. For the third and the fourth risk, these are high risk, and they are considered intolerable based on the company's appetite. Although they don't require escalation, but they do require immediate action, as that could mean diversifying your supply chain and tightening up compliance monitoring across vendors. And that will be further discussed in the next step. So to wrap up, these risks are more than just operational headaches. They're tied to strategy, leadership, and long-term sustainability. We believe that tackling them head-on will now strengthen Novatrend's position and protect the business as it continues to grow. And to explain what the next step is, I will hand back the floor to Joe, our executive. Thank you.
The monitoring and review framework is designed to ensure mitigation actions deliver measurable value. We will track key performance indicators like supply chain fulfillment, ESG audit compliance, and the percentage of recycled materials through a monthly dashboard. Our analysis shows for every dollar invested in ESG audits, we can expect a 4-fold reduction in emergency sourcing and a 50% drop in reputational risk premiums. With real-time analytics, we'll dynamically reallocate resources to where they're most effective, maximizing efficiency and supporting continuous improvement. Quarterly board reviews will keep us aligned with the market shifts and regulatory changes. Now, we're presenting 3 strategic options, each with 3 different levels of investment and return. Rapid ESG acceleration. High investment strategy focused on R&D, full audit coverage, and logistical upgrades. It delivers the strongest risk reduction and enables premium pricing. 2 is a phased ESG roadmap. A medium investment approach with quarterly milestones for increased recycled content, carbon offsets, and supply diversification. This balances risk reduction with cash flow. Commitment realignment. A low-cost option that aligns ESG targets with current capabilities. It maintains brand credibility while making steady, achievable progress. Our recommendation is a hybrid pilot. This would combine a phased supplier diversification with a targeted blockchain traceability to validate your return on investment before scaling up. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. Together, we can position Novatrend for a sustainable growth and long-term market leadership as it approaches its IPO. Ian, Lei, and myself look forward to future discussions.